All right. So, what's the J? All James Leaks. Whereas, having been designated qualified in submarines for more than 50 years and a member in U.S. Submarine Veterans in good standing, U.S. Submarine Veterans is extremely proud to bestow upon you membership in Holland Club. Your induction into the Holland Club is a testimony of your years of honorable and faithful service to the U.S. Navy and the submarine force, granted this 11th day of April, 2024. Qualified in submarines 1974, USS William H. Bates, SSN 680. So here's your you have a card for you. There's that. Your coin. And I'm also going to read this. This is from our base. Welcome aboard, shipmate. We are pleased to present your Holland Club certificate, patch, coin, and membership card, presented on this special occasion in recognition of your 50 years or more submarine qualification and service to your country. National Commander William Andrea, Holland Club Chairman Jim Irwin, and your shipmates take great pleasure in welcoming you as a member of the Holland Club. There you go. Let's come here. Turn. Welcome aboard. All right. And you as well. Good to see you today. So, whereas having been designated qualified in submarines for more than 50 years and a member of USS Submarine Veterans in good standing, U.S. Submarine Veterans is extremely proud to bestow upon you membership in the Holland Club. Your induction into the Holland Club is a testimony of your years of honorable and faithful service to the U.S. Navy and the submarine force, granted this 11th day of April, 2024. Qualified in submarines 1974, USS Sculpin, SSN 590. So, shipmate Harry, our news, welcome aboard. We are pleased to present your Holland Club certificate, patch, coin, and membership card, presenting this special occasion in recognition of your 50 years or more submarine qualification and service to your country. Commander William Andrea, Holland Club Chairman Jim Irwin, and your shipmates take great pleasure in welcoming you as a member of the Holland Club. Welcome. Your patch, your card, your coin, and your certificate.
You have a picture of the two all together. There we are. There we go. 1, 2, 3. First thing.
So let's go ahead and start the meeting in the Holland Club. Buster and the internal patrol table. Would you all So now you know why we need to have some new blood here. Everybody's Holland Club. It might be a little old. Okay, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ray, would you like to lead us, President?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Myra.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just come to you tonight with thanksgiving for the fellowship in this group and the things that we all have in common, for the friendships and the fun times. And I thank you for the lives of each one of those guys behind the table back there that have served 50 plus years submarine service dedicated. And I just thank you for their service, for their decision to serve, and just to ask you to bless them. Be with those that can't be with us tonight because of sickness or for whatever reason. Keep them safe and bring them back next time to join us. And just lift this meeting up to you. Ask that you would bless it and help us accomplish the things that we need to get accomplished tonight. And may we honor our creed in everything that we do. Amen.
USSVI Creed. To perpetuate the memory of our shipmates who gave their lives in pursuit of their duties while serving their country. That their dedication, deeds, and supreme sacrifice be a constant source of motivation towards greater accomplishments. We pledge loyalty and patriotism to the United States of America and its Constitution. Please remain standing for towing of the boat. USS Pickerel, SS-177, lost on 3 April 1943 by a Japanese surface attack off Honshu, Japan. 74 men lost. USS Grenadier, SS-210, lost on 22 April 1943, 10 miles west of Lemvolan Strait in the Indian Ocean. Scuttled after being badly damaged by bombs, 76 men taken prisoners, 72 men survived the war, 4 men lost. USS Grunton, SS-211, lost on 18 April 1944 during a Japanese air and surface attack north of Marianas. 79 men lost. USS Snook, SS-279, lost on 8 April 1945 due to unknown causes off Formosa. 84 men lost. USS Thresher, SSN 593, lost on 10 April 1963 off the New England coast. 129 men lost. In keeping with the USSVI Creed, let us remain in a mood of reverence and respect while we take a moment to remembrance those submariners who have received their final orders and now in turn on serving on eternal patrol. The Rocky Mountain Base Eternal Patrol list for April had no members, so let's have a moment of silence for all our lost shipmates. Please be seated. All in club post. For most submariners, a submerged submarine provides a quiet and somewhat tranquil setting free of many of the distractions present in everyday surface world. So in keeping with that, we'll take her down for our regular meeting. Clear the bridge. Take her down. Dive. Dive.
Okay, so we do have quite a few new faces. We have some new potential members, and we also have some people that haven't been here in a while, which makes it pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and do an introduction. We will go around the room, just tell us your name and which boat you qualified on. And if you have your wife or girlfriend here, make sure that you introduce them or friends. Ackerman, why don't you start?
Qualified on USSVI 1963, also serving in the USS Scotland. Jim Klein, Boulevard, November 1983. 41, gold, and other Andy Meverton, associate member, retired military chaplain, commissioning chaplain in USS Colorado.
I don't know, breaking up.
I'm Harry Newts. I qualified in February of 1974 on USS Sculpin, SS.
This one? Alexander, qualified USS John Marshall, November 71. Also served on 3 other boats on your qualified. And I'm also here with a young man that I met here a couple weeks ago in a restaurant. His name is Nick Davis. He's served on the USS Alabama, 731. And sure. Blue Group, okay. You always say blue. Eagle. And hopefully you'll be a member of the base. My dad, lost to the 671.
The very bottom switch, see if it's on in the up position. The red light doesn't tell you it's on. It just tells you if that it's got power.
It's on, it's on.
Okay. Okay.
Come in, they're not using things.
Let's give it to Richard.
My name is Richard Pond. I qualified on the USS Piper SS 409, December of 54. And I brought with me tonight my neighbor who's come up for he played at the break. That's 520. Michael Lewis, I qualified for USS John C. Calhoun. Being 630 blue. That's it. All right, Jerome. That's right, USS Test, SS 426 in June of 1960. I'm Thaddeus Scrabble. I qualified on the USS Dallas in 2003, I think. Oh my God. Mark Perdue, I qualified on the USS Queenfish, SSN 651 in early 1968 sometime. It went back.
Dennis Robinson with me tonight is my better half for the last 56 years, farmer. My first qual boat was the John Adams in 1964. SSBN 620 Blue. My second qual boat was the USS Dace, SSN 607 in 1966. Terry Trinder, my husband Bill on the Eternal Patrol, he did his 72 on the Grayback, the system that he was developed in. So, yeah, I'm here with Army guy now.
I'm Gregory. I'm an associate member, Army Ranger, qualified in July of 1988. And really happy to be here and happy to be back with you guys. Went through a lot of loss, and I have to remember how much you gain when you come and see people that really love you and care about you. So, it's a little dramatic. Hey, my kid said no. Doing much better. Yeah, good deal.
Robert Justin, qualified USS Indianapolis, SSN 697, January of 91.
Bill Anderson, I qualified on Sail Fates SS 572, and with my wife and girlfriend of 62 years. Hey.
I'm Jeff Mosley, qualified on the USS George C. Marshall, SSDN 654 Gold in January of 1, and then requalified USS Daniel Webster, SSDN 626 Blue in 1982.
I'm Robert Willisrock. I'm here with my wife, Jill Mayer. This is her first. I qualified on the John Marshall SSBN 611 Blue for my Silver Dolphins in 63, and I qualified on the von Steuben Gold Dolphins SSBN 632 Blue in 81. 71, excuse me.
Why you wrote it down?
You're it.
And Bruce Martin, qualified Corporal SS 346 in 1971. Where was I? I was out with my dog.
Brad.
It's your dad's straight blue, so you bring with you.
Oh, that was Otis. He's my better half.
That was your fault. I'm Grant Day. I qualify on the USS Benjamin Franklin SFBN 640 Blue in September of 1969. I am your treasurer and webmaster, and I brought with me tonight, who will be speaking a little bit, Mr. Ray Boyd. He'll be talking to you about missile guidance systems. Out of $10, graduated and graduated. Qualified. 22. Simpson, 1987, I think, 655 Blue. I'm your secretary and your newsletter.
And I'm Myra. I was Air Force. I was a nurse, Vietnam era. And I'm here to help you.
And I'm Paul Leach, the base commander. My first call boat was the USS William H. Bates in August of 1974. I then went on to qualify on the La Jolla 701, then the Tennessee 734. And I don't remember what crew I was on. I think I was gold, but I don't remember. And I'm here with my lovely wife of 21 years, Julie. Raise your hand, Julie. Okay, so tonight we do have a guest speaker. And would you like to introduce him? Or?
You'll pass these out and get somebody.
I'll pass now.
Come on up, Ray.
You gotta sit down at black chairs.
Well, he's probably here. Want to fight with this? No? You noticed the Striptease show, didn't you? He was a senior engineer on guidance system. And so we've made up a presentation for you tonight. You're getting a handout. It may not be completely in order, so all Ray has to do is tell you what page, which is in the lower right-hand corner, how you're looking at it. And he'll be able to fill you in with the rest of the information. Yeah, well. Maybe. Do we have a spare copy of the handout that we gave out by any chance? Okay, good.
Give one to you guys? No, I don't have.
So I'll turn it over to Ray and he will take you through some interesting ideas about what happened with the guidance systems of the missiles that he was working on. A1, A2, A3. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about one of my most favorite Polaris missiles. I was with the program from the A1 to the A3 in the follow-up program. That you should go to your first chart on your page there. What I want to do is cover the total flight of the missile from the preparation of it, well, the work to its setup, to its launching, to its flight, and to its reentry to the other end. The chart number 2 shows those. It shows the power phase. This is the basic phases of the missile flight. You can see on here. So the power change is some phase, your antibody ejection phase, the free fall phase, and then the reentry phase. And I'll talk about that a little bit about penetration of enemy defenses. If you'll go to your chart number 5, actually shows the overall missile of what we're talking about. This missile is 37,000 pounds in weight. It's about 32 feet long and 4.2 feet wide, 4.6 feet wide. It consists of from left to right, a first stage rocket engine, an interstage, a second stage rocket engine, an equipment section, and then the far right is the payload where the reentry system sits. One of the first things, there's 3 or 4 things that had to happen for this missile to become even feasible. And one of them was the development of solid fuel motor big enough to propel this rocket. Up to this time, most rockets or smaller rockets and couldn't hold anything that gets big. And the way the missile flies, it's ignited. The first stage burns, to completion. It's dropped off. The second stage is ignited, and that burns to the completion of the flight. And then at the proper time, the reentry system is ejected from the missile and it free falls to start. If you look at chart number 6, it will give you a little bit of layout of some of the electrical parts of it. And there's conduits that run from all the way the length of the missile, carrying the very signals needed for the supply. One of the things that happened to us during the development of crypto, I think most of us have heard about the electronic pulse, EMP pulse, that can affect electronics and the way things work. In the 60s, we got quite concerned about this, and we developed a program, it was called the Analog Program, to harden the electronics of the Polaris missile, all the circuitry and stuff that was in the guidance system. And the way they one of the ways they had to do this was to float a nuclear device close to electronic equipment to see why it was failing, how it was failing. So what they did is they worked with the Atomic Energy Commission. They dug a hole in the ground, put a nuclear device down in the ground along with the circuitry and missile, and then along with some test equipment, and they ignited the bomb, and of course it vaporized everything in milliseconds. But in the first part of those milliseconds, they could see what transformed inside the signals that the device was supposed to be having. So after a series of these, they were able to develop the semiconductors what they call harder and harder to resist the pulse. And one of the interesting things that I got involved in the late 60s was the word came out, we had developed it and tested it. So we wanted to put it in the boats, and they chose to put the first ones in at the Bangor base in Washington State. Right? So they as you all know, especially you folks, how sensitive it is for strange people to be aboard a boat, right? And so the base commanders up and the senior management survey that you guys can't come aboard these boats and start changing stuff out, right? And they got pretty sensitive about that. So we had to go up and tell them what it was. It involved the atomic explosion and affecting semiconductors. And then there was no problem letting this change, because these are loaded boats with loaded missiles on them. They had to go in, they call these tabletop, put the new ones in. So I found that to be my first encounter really with any senior naval boat folks. And it was quite an education to me to deal with them. Very professional, very so we're not hardcore, but very sensitive about who, what, next. Okay. So while we're on the missile thing, the solid fuel missiles, if you look at chart 4, it's supposed to be two cross sections of solid fuel rocket. The one on the left, the little hole in the center, is a hole in the rocket motor. The one on the right, it's a sort of a triangular pattern. What happens on a rocket motor, and what happens on this particular missile, and first one has to be constant in the guidance of it. And if you start with the rocket on the left, the motor will start out with a peak, okay, and as it burns, more and more surface area becomes available, and the thrust gets higher and higher and higher. So the thrust on the motor goes up, which makes a problem for the guidance system compensating for that. So strange it seems that the motor is not a solid core; it's convoluted. So it burns as it burns out. surface area of the burning stays about the same, so the stuff is pretty much level. If you move across the whole thing. Now let me say a word about the flight controls. You know how the missile fits in the sub, right? It's an launch tube, and it's just sitting there. The thing that guides it is two things. One is the flight control system, and the other is the guidance system. And the flight control system is responsible for keeping the missile pointed in the right direction, oriented. And basically, it would be straight up and down as it just sits there. Okay. The guidance system is that electronic switch. Allows the guidance system to keep deviations in the flight path when towards the target, right? And the two work together. The theme of the whole thing is a thing called, let me go back and up. This is a guidance system is a inertial guidance system, which means it does not receive any commands once it's launched. It's all on its own. It flies on its own. And the heart of that is a little member that's about the core of the guidance system. It's called a stable platform. And the stable platform knows what up and down is, left and right, and the whole bit. And that's the core of this whole thing. It's quite a fire control system. It's the way you point the missile. Right? No matter which direction the submarine might be oriented into the water, and the time you shoot it, let's say it's shooting at Sherlock, for example, to pick a city. The fire control system knows what direction it is. The sub knows what direction it is. And the still circuit in the guidance system platform is pointed in the direction that the missile is supposed to fly. Yeah. And it's in the pitch plane. So when you're setting the missile up to fire it, you have to load into it the target, and it goes into a range of certain range going in, and you have to load into the direction. And so the guidance system inner core will point itself to where the target is. And the guidance computer will figure out how much speed the missile has to gain before it releases the range. And that number is loaded in. And it's really called, this is velocity to be gained in this missile. You can look at the guidance path as, okay. You can look at the guidance path of this as two parts. One is straight up and down, vertical, and the other is the rate at which you want this to pitch over towards the target. Okay. In the initial launch of this, it travels 90 feet before the motors ignite. Is that a little better? Okay. And it's supposed to go like straight up. And as it references that little unit inside the guidance system, it tells it which way is up and down. As it begins to accelerate and gain speed, it'll pitch down towards the target that's going. And the problem that it has being out of the atmosphere is number one, it can't pitch over too soon because the loads on it as it gains speed cause the missile to. So the missile is unstable in the first place. It's kept alive by the electronics. But if it pitches over too much, the aerodynamic forces get too big on it, and the missile will tumble out of the air, and then it'll go out to the path that the flight control system can keep it on. It tries to keep it in a little narrow, fuzzy channel, so to speak. So one way to look at this, I don't have a chart on this, but sometimes it's called a velocity to be gained system. If you can imagine from that first chart, see here. Well, if you look at chart 7, I might be able to clean on that. If you can visualize on that chart, all the way on the right is the warhead separating from the second state. and I'll begin a flight towards the target. In the flight toward the target, any object that flies in a near space will travel in a elliptical orbit, a conic section, and in this case, because of geometry, it'll be a conic section. It'll fly up another 200 or 300 feet, miles into the air before it starts to come back towards the target. If you can imagine at that point there, some people might call it a point of velocity to be gained. Okay, and so the guidance system says, okay, there's a point in space that follows this trajectory up. And there's a point in space that releases the reentry system that shoots over the target. Right? The guidance computer knows that, and it puts that number, call it correlated velocity, puts that number in the computer before it's launched. And as the missile flies up the path, it counts down. It accumulates speed to reduce that correlated velocity to zero. Okay, let's say that velocity happened to be 10,000 feet per second. Right? As soon as it reached 10,000 feet per second, it would eject the system. Okay. And it's doing this in the X, Y, and Z plane. So that correlated velocity could also be called the velocity to be gained. So initially, before the missiles even launched, you put that number into the guidance computer, and that's the velocity that the computer has to gain before it will kick the reentry systems off. And the way that gains that velocity is just 3 accelerometers in the guidance system that as it flies, it measures the acceleration it's experiencing, and the acceleration is referred to the distance traveled, right? And speed gain. As it gains speed, it counts on the register that has a correlated velocity number in it. When that goes to zero, it means it should be in space. Another key ejector. Okay. Now, how does it know what that number is? Well, that number comes from the fire control system, which is pretty elaborate in its electronics, and it knows where Schlerlock is, and it knows where itself is. And through its computations, can figure out where, and knowing that this flight path, which is pretty predictable in shape and way it gets out of it, it'll know where that point is. It'll compute what number that should put in the fire thing. I don't know, does that make any sense? Yeah. Okay. So it's really kind of clever how they do that, because you get some interesting problems. For example, what happens if the motor is a little bit hotter than it's supposed to be? Okay. Well, if it's flying at the flight path, it's going to get to this point in space it was looking for, right? Sooner. And it'll be ahead of itself in time, which means that it's either going to be long or short, or if the Earth is rotating, which you have to compensate for, it'll be further along or further behind, depending upon whether the motor is a little bit hotter or slower. So part of the guidance equation that they worked on, and some of these mathematicians are really, really, really clever. They have a modification, the basic guidance term that is tracking time. So the time, the ways of accumulating velocity versus time will allow it to modify its ejection speed velocity just a pinch, more or less, and still get to that same target. So it works out pretty good, because the thing is literally within a couple hundred yards at 2,500 miles. It's picking up the speed by accelerometers, which are giving it distance. And the thing is so accurate, the accelerometer, that if the missile moves off of its point, or 1/4 of an inch off of where it ought to be, it detects that and tries to get itself back on it. Okay. And the way it tries to get itself back on it is to change the ejection velocity by just maybe a couple of fractions of a feet per second, compensate for that. So this thing is really in a tight range of where it goes. Let's see. Do any of you all have any basic question about the missile itself at this point?
It's a quarter of an inch off
Yes.
at a few hundred miles, 1,000 miles, that could be pretty significant.
Well, it would be a displacement from the original spot. If it moved over a quarter of an inch, it would try to get itself back to that. So,
How far away?
well, it would be a quarter of an inch of where it ought to be at the time that it occurs. So if it occurred way up down, further down, about 100 miles down the lane, you wouldn't hardly notice it. Yeah.
Corrected.
Yeah, that's true. What amazed me was how sensitive it was to any motion. There's also another part of the flight dynamics is if it changes position this way, also if it tends to roll with tip, right? We tend to steer it off on the wrong path, right? So it's really important to keep it so it doesn't deviate from the attitude it ought to be at any one point in space. There's three accelerometers, that little rate gyros that take care of that. Any tipping motion or any displacement motion, and it's all in the inner platform of the basic guidance system.
Yes, is this, given all the discussion today about artificial intelligence, is this an example of early days of artificial intelligence in rocketry?
I don't know. I'm not sure what artificial intelligence is. I mean, read a lot of different things about it. Read a lot of different things, but I don't know if
Well, it seems to me, the way you describe it, variations because of speed, angle, pitch, wind, whatever, is compensated in the guidance system. So within certain parameters, the missile cares for itself, correct?
yes.
It's two completely different computer type systems. AI is absolutely nothing to do with that, or even remotely near it. It's apples and oranges. Andy, the missile guidance computer will constantly in the pitch roll it yaw, will constantly try to count down and issue steering command to reduce the velocities to be gained in all three axes to zero. If it's a zero, then it will on the proper flight path. If it upsets that, then usually calculate the ball weight, based on ball weight. And that's arbitrary and clear above the target. So if we know what the ball weights are, we will in the box, which times it for that, and what we develop, we look at that computer to do. So, upset that, like a one phase of power, if it's hang out in with the lots of it's like that, it'll increase the limits of the guidance computer, and then this will issue steering commands that then bring it back down to zero.
Yeah, hand him the mic. It's true.
Always kind of private any disturbances in flight path, either because of what you said was we say we got a hot booster, which burning a little bit more than a normal booster. It's going to try to drive the flight path higher, so this will then compensate by doing downward steering to bring it back down to zero.
Not true. All said.
These are missile back.
Oh, well. I think it's very good. Well, let's see what else. I guess that kind of covered it without getting into a lot of little details on how some of this happens. Roadbus treatment. That's kind of how it works.
So was there any kind of big failures associated with these training systems and stuff?
Oh, yeah. Flight control system was wrong. Oh, I never really mentioned how propulsor says in the base of the first stage and the second stage are four nozzles, four rocket nozzles. And those nozzles are used to determine the pitch and yaw and roll on the missile. And sometimes they'll have something will happen to the nozzle. There's been instances where some of the vault failed and caused the missile to tumble, you know. Yeah, a certain number of those things happen during the flight test phase, I think. And the usually got, I think, most of the problems worked out. Okay. Well, you could have electronic circuit, something goes on in the flight control display circuit failure, you know. There was a situation where the missile will travel 90 feet before the motor ignite, right? And normally it's an underwater launch, but it can launch from the surface if it has to, right? And here again, there's an accelerometer that's measuring the speed of the missile going up, and acceleration can relate to feet, right? When it gets into 90 feet, boom, fires the motors. There was a point we were getting where you've heard of crystal growth in semiconductors and electronics, right? There was a case, in fact, one of your people found it out for us, where we were getting some crystal growth in the circuitry that govern when the motor's fired, or when they shut off, right? And if you had the wrong crystal growth at the wrong time, the second stage motor started when the first was still going, right? You know what I mean? So they took everything apart and studied with a microscope a little bit and found out there was this crystal growth that was causing this problem. And then they modified the circuitry so made the distance greater, maybe changed the middle. I forget exactly what the solution was on that one. That was a senior. And this is quite a qualified young Navy guy that figured this out. And he was about, not young because he was about to retire, so he retired like he hired him, put him in the thing with that, but that's all the problem. Okay.
Any other questions?
Company were you with that developed this?
I was locking looking for. Well, let me say a word then, if there's no more questions on this, about what happens on the other end. Okay. The Russians started building the anti-missile system north of Panama north of Moscow. We got quite concerned about being able to shoot down our range systems as they came in. So we started a program on penetration aids. Okay. And we built the site out on Kwajalein Island in started with interceptors, with warheads on them and whole bit. And then we fired down the Kwajalein to see if they could see us coming, but this was coming. And the most simple form of penetration aid is if you saw some of the World War II things that happened when the airplanes dropped off little pieces of chaff into the air to confuse the radar. Well, try that on this, and here's this lethal object flying, and you surround it with chaff. So if you're looking at it from the ground, you see this noise in the air and the lethal object. Right? I didn't mention in this particular missile, we ended up having 3 warheads as a payload, okay, on the front end of the thing. Started out with 1 on the A1 and A2, then it's went to 3. And in the picture of the, gone now, but the original picture, you notice the shape is a nice bullet shape, okay? There are 3 lethal objects, about 270 kilotons worth of boom under that cone. Okay? The cone is made out of spruce, 9 layer of spruce, laminated, and believe it or not, you can lift the whole missile by that cone. Because it can lower it and raise it on the top of that cone with the device in the ascent, the cover blows off and the missile flies, and at the right time it ejects those 3 warheads. And the rockets that eject those warheads are really precise rockets because they're trying to get a pattern on the ground. This missile is designed for urban industrial targets. It's not supposed to be a mountain buster or anything like that, right? And they can get more damage with 3 missiles spread evenly than one big one, right? And a lot less mass too. So anyway, so there you are on ground watching this thing come in, and you see the shaft, and it's relatively easy to get rid of. Plus, the problem with chaff is there's a number called beta. Many of you game shooters, so you're probably aware of this number. It's a number associated with the weight of an object, the coefficient of drag of the object, and the cross section of the object. Okay. Now, for example, give you some beta numbers. The 30-06 rifle with 150 grain bullet in it has a beta of around 450. Okay. A feather has a beta of maybe 0.01, right? And a beta is a measure of the fact of how fast something decelerates in a given medium. So if you want a flat shooting bullet, you want a bullet with a higher beta, and even within a 30-06, 150 grain bullet or 180 or 220 or something, right? Will have different betas, and they'll shoot flatter, one flatter than the other. In fact, with a certain 7mm bullet, for as a rule of thumb, is one of the most flat shooting bullets that there is, right? And that's because the beta is kind of higher beta for it. So the factor with betas, and another way to fool or to trick the defense system that's trying to shoot you down is you make a penetration aid. Since the shaft isn't really very effective, you make a small object, as small as you can, that has the same beta as the lethal object. Okay. And this means that it'll slow down exactly at the same rate. What happens with the shaft is when it gets the upper atmosphere, since beta is so low, it slows down right away. And so if you're watching this thing come at you, there's this big cloud of stuff, and all of a sudden the warhead starts dropping off, at a pretty high altitude, so you get plenty of time to shoot it. So if you develop a little beta object, a thing that has a big beta is the lethal object, okay? Even though it's many times smaller. And you juice it up so it has a good magnetic return, so it looks bigger than it really is. And then he looks up and he sees, oh my gosh, instead of 3 things coming at me, maybe there's 9 coming at me. So which one does he shoot at? You can't differentiate the simple difference between the lethal and the non-lethal object. Another way to fool the defense would be to, if you have a spoofer type of object that you're carrying, it receives a signal from the ground and retransmits it back to the transmitter, so that your defense system sees multiple signals coming back from which one is the real one. If he wants to see that. We sold this missile to the grid who bought it. We didn't sell them the physics package. They had to come up with their own physics package. So when they come out to the plant, they look at some other mock-ups, and we would, of course, have anything on the front end. If we didn't have anything that would up the holes, right? Figure out what would be attached to the front end of this thing, right? And we wouldn't get that information to them. We had a couple of instances where there was some scuffle between the senior bit from our senior guys who got to look at what. And kind of interesting. We also didn't give them the impact characteristics of it. Particularly when you get to this HD rares, he wants to give it 9 and see how effective this was, and that was secret no form. So we couldn't get any of that. It's been a touch and go on the defeating the defense system, but I always remember the stories when we first started working against Quadrilink. We'd shoot a missile into their site, and the Al Lab was working with us, and we'd get together after we'd have a meeting and watch them. weeks to try to figure out which one they should have shot at, because it's a real difficult problem for the defense to figure out which is legal and which is non-legal. And of course, the shorter end that they can wait, they can use a smaller warhead to try to intercept it, and it can be more important. So it's a touch and go on that end of it. But anyway, since what's happened since before, so we've gone beyond that, and we even developed a concept called mirroring, which is multiple frequency vehicles, in which you take the basic system we have here, and instead of mounting, let's say, one warhead, you mount 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, you can program each one of those to go to a different target, which means you have to load into 10 targets, 10 different velocity gains. And the computer will switch from one to the other, and it'll steer the bus around then to get to the target velocity. So anyway, it was a fun project working on it, and I wouldn't need to have one of those and shove it. Okay.
Any questions? Yep. How long did the first stage last? Once it launched?
Boy, I don't remember. Sorry about that.
The reason I was asking is because we launched a missile, it self-destructed in 11 seconds because they lost telemetry, and the first stage blew up next to us.
Oh, today.
We basically trapped the superstructure, which we didn't know about the surface. We're like, what's that? I was just curious, how.
Well, thank you.
Okay, Ray, we appreciate your talk. And as a group, we would like to present you with this novel from our space.
Oh, thank you.
You are so welcome.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead and break for a coffee, cake, and cookies. Okay, just a reminder. We wear your hats, wear your coats, wear your stuff so people can see. We've got a bunch of cards on order. I'm going to pull out what we have left there. We got about an inch full of cards. Make sure you hand them out to people that come up and talk to you. Oh, we got 1,000 of them. So if you're missing some or need some, which I do, so come and get some before the meeting's over with. Okay, minutes. There's no correction to the minutes of our last meeting as published in the cavitation by Dan Ballard, our secretary. They'll be accepted as published. Does anybody have any corrections to the minutes? Okay, so they are accepted. Just remember that Dan needs input. If you have some kind of story, some kind of article, that would be good for everybody's knowledge. Let Dan know. I need to backtrack a second. As far as a speaker, we're actually getting a speaker for next month in May. Her name is Rose Campbell, and she is the communications director for all of the state veterans retirement homes. Fitzsimmons and Walsenburg and all those places. So she's going to come and give a presentation on all the different things that they can, services that they provide. I figured we're all getting up there, and so we need something like that. Yes. Okay, Mr. Grant, you have a treasurer's report.
Oh,
Last month was kind of a quiet month compared to last year. So we started the month, we had a total of $491 of income. However, we had $1,467 of expenses. That's over different accounts, caps for kids. We spent $1,000 on caps for kids um, supplies. And so that's where that mostly went. And so we're still sitting pretty. If you want to see the full report, I'll have it available up here at the counter, and you can take a look at it. But we are still sitting at about $18,000 in our total accounts from between our national charitable accounts as well as our operations account. So if you have any questions, come take a look. The website is up to date. I found out tonight that I have a new change that I have to do as far as officers go. We can welcome Bruce Marsden as the new, and he's sitting there saying, what?
My name in vain.
Yeah, I did. I thought you were going to get away. As the New Holland Club chairman. So, yeah, well, surprise.
I didn't know it came with a title.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So, just a reminder also is that actually next month, we'll be having nominations for various officers. And then in June, we'll have an installation for the new officers. Okay. So if you'd like to participate more in the base, please contact Paul or me or Dan, and we can they can put your name on the list and keep this base going. Any question? Thank you very much.
So the base commander position is actually a 2-year position, and all the other officers are a 1-year position. So in May, if you're interested in becoming real active, let us know, and we'll go do a vote on in May next meeting. Okay, birthdays for April. We have Lawrence Monger was the 4th. Patrick Krause is the 4th. Jane Budemeyer is the 7th. Has anybody contacted Jim anytime recently to know how he's doing? Okay, Larry Ness, who brought the cake, is the 7th. Daniel Chung is the 9th. Greg Pominano is the 14th. Bob Gurley is the 17th. Stan Monroe, 17th. Jeff is the 18th. 28th. You guys got that. I just said so. Okay, for May. Did I miss anybody for April? Okay, May. I have Bruce Weller on the 5th. Harry is on the 7th. Bruce Marston is on the 8th. Myra is the 9th. The 29th. Heavens, I'll have to change that. Okay, Helen Pace is the 12th. Tudor Davis is the 16th. Those of you who don't know that Tudor Davis is, what is he, 99 or 100? Yeah, it's like 100 years old, and he's in a nursing home wearing. Was that it? That was it. That was last year 100. So it's approaching 101. And he's in a nursing home up in Seattle or Portland or somewhere around there. Carl Rash is the 19th, and Sandy Keller is the 29th, along with Myron.
We're the same year too.
Same year. Wow. Okay, who's going to volunteer for the cake next meeting? Okay. Myra was the first to put her hand up. You're not here either? You? Okay, I got you down for the cake mix. Okay, committee report, storekeeper, Tammy Bowman, they're actually at the Western Roundup right now, which I wish we were at, but she's doing pretty good. She retires in 1 week, was it, she said? Week she has left. She has like a week left, she's retiring finally, and to be dedicating all her time and effort to the story. Remember those coats, those jackets? They're not very expensive. They're less than $100, and they are pretty nice. Okay, Grant, we already talked about webmaster. Okay, Caps for Kids. We had an event on the 4th of April at the Ronald McDonald House. We had about 7 people show up as far as members. Kathy was supposed to give me a report on how many hats and certificates and stuff they gave out. But she said it was fairly busy before we showed up and moved her in. So, and she's working on a new event, but she hasn't got dates yet because I haven't called her back. So as soon as I get information from her, then I will pass out. I guess as far as her first showing, it came off fairly well. Bingo, 17th of May. Excuse me, 17th of May, April, which is next Wednesday at Colorado State Veterans Home. Time 1000. Andy, anything to add?
We had a good group, we had like 7 last night, including a young grandson. And we had $2 bills, and the people had a great time. There was all over 22 residents.
Yeah, they really enjoyed the heck out. How many people can be able to go on Wednesday? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's pretty good, 6 people. Okay, parades. We are currently signed up for the Estes Park and the Fredericks Minor Days, and we are going to sign up for the Littleton Western Welcome Week. And we have 4 different other parades that we could do. The first one is the Commerce City Parade, but it's going to require a $100 entrance fee. So I don't know if that's something we'd be interested in. Okay. Buffalo Bill Days in Golden and the Douglas County Fair. Those are both in July, and we already have the July 8th Estes Park. So the Buffalo Bill Days is on the 27th of July, and the Douglas County Fair is on the 17th. Which one of those sounds more appeasing to you people? Golden one or the Castle Rock? I hear a golden. Anything else? What's that? Golden. Jeff, you had something to add about Douglas County Fair?
Well, it's a good parade, a very long parade, but after that, everybody just kind of disperses. So, Golden might be a lot more fun, more regular downtown Golden.
They're good brewery.
Yeah, good brewery. All right. Okay. So, Jeff, let's try the Buffalo Bill Days.
A friend of mine owns the largest brewery in Golden. He was close to take them to us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and do the Buffalo Bill Days.
Okay.
And the other one is the Windsor Harvest Days, which I know Dan's has talked about. It's a pretty nice one, probably equivalent to Frederick's parade. The little town of Frederick, I think every person that lives in that town showed up that day. So Windsor Harvest Day is September 2nd. So let's add those 2 to our list. Okay? What's that?
September 2nd, it's a Monday.
That's that's Labor Day, right? Labor Day, yeah. Yes. Okay. UBC, I've already given any input. Right, they're right in the middle of the session, the assembly for the Colorado Assembly, and it's just they're juggling somewhere in the neighborhood of 700 bills. each session. So we're tracking about 35 that have to do with military people. And so it's a constantly changing, so it's really nothing to update until it's all said and done. Okay, the memorial flagpole. I think we talked about this new flagpole we're talking about is going to be a wind rated flagpole up to, I believe, 100 miles an hour or something like that. The individual who gave us the estimate actually donated all of his time or installation costs for part of a military donation, $1,200. So we're still talking about $7,400. And we are looking for possible corporate debt donations. So if you're still working and you work for a corporation, a large company that likes to donate to military organizations, contact myself or Grant, and hopefully we can put in a request. And so we still probably need a few $1,000s to make it settle up right. Float, Robert, do you have anything to add to the float? Where did he go to? Andy, did you guys ever get together last Friday or the Friday before or whatever it was to work at Robert's house on the float?
Yeah, we spent the day so far.
Okay. The body coming along, or is it still got a lot of work to go? Okay. Let's start now. We are set up for our August picnic, right? What date did you say? August 3rd for our picnic, same location? Okay, July 4th, Tammy and Dale, they live in Frederick. Are gonna do a big barbecue, bring your own side dish and desserts or whatever, and they'll supply meats and hamburgers and buns and all that kind of stuff. We are working towards getting something going for the month of May on a Saturday for lunch. Some big restaurant or something that can handle 20 to 25, possibly 30 people.
Jeff and I are working on that.
Okay. And JJ's not here, Don isn't here for Colorado. Reach Across America is still kind of waiting for time to pass. Okay, good of the order. I got one thing we need to talk about. It was brought up to me by Dale and Tammy. It's the Rocky Mountain Honor Flights. Okay, so the Rocky Mountain Honor Flight is one of 3 companies here in Colorado that fly veterans back to Washington, D.C. for about a 2-day, 2.5-day trip. They cover all the costs, set them in a hotel, bus them around. They go to all of the memorials, Arlington and Vietnam and Korea and World War II, and the Marines, Lincoln, and Arlington. They go through the changing of the guards and all that stuff at Arlington. And so what they've done is, the order is, if you're a World War II veteran, you're first on the list. If you're a Korean veteran, you're second on the list. And if you're a Vietnam veteran the time period, then you're third on the list. And World War II vets are disappearing quite rapidly. If there's hardly any left, Koreans are following up pretty much. So it's opening up for people of our time period during the 60s and early 70s. So if you're interested, they will fly you out and take you all over, and then they'll fly you back. Now, it's for the veteran. And what Tammy explained to me is each veteran may or may not require a what do they call them? Not an escort flight. And so he actually signed up to do an honor flight, and he listed Tammy as his required guardian. That's what it is, guardian. And the guardian is a person that'll carry the bags and move them around with the wheelchairs. They said that last flight, there was out of the 35 or so people, there was 17 of them that were in wheelchairs. And so they definitely need somebody to help support.
I used to volunteer with them through COVID, so, they only take, they'll take all the guardians, because you know, there's so many places on the planes. And the guardians, they're full, they pay for their everything.
Yeah.
So they don't go free, and, the only thing that disqualifies somebody generally is dementia,
Oh, okay.
because they get worse when they get away from home. But they've taken people with cancer, in later stages even, and they're willing to work with just about anything to get you there. It's really a good thing. And if they just, if you just go to the website, there's a application form that you can just fill out, and there's a waiting list for Vietnam veterans at this point. And the last I heard, it might be as much as 2 years.
So it's called the Rocky Mountain Honor Flight.com is the website. .org. Okay, I just Googled Rocky Mountain Honor Flight and it popped right up. And I looked at it and they're looking for volunteers, guardians, almost anything they need. They use a chartered flight, so it's not commercial. It's what the website said. It said chartered flight.
Because usually they use one.
Oh, okay.
There's actually two now. There's one that's called High Plains. It's up in
High Plains.
up in Fort Collins, Loveland Airport.
Uh-huh.
You can apply for both of them and see which one gets you on the first. And April 28th, this month is the next one, and they have a bus tour that comes out of the up in northern Colorado, the Budweiser Event Center. It goes down County Road 5 and goes through Windsor. People line up on both sides of the road and they wave flags. And my wife and I plan on going to that.
That one generally only one day unless they change it. You can go in the morning and come back. But now, the Rocky Mountain one is for 2 nights unless they've changed it. Check.
I didn't get into the real details. I do know that the gentleman that was talking to us about it said that whenever they fly back into the IA, there's always 250 to 300 people to welcome them back. So if you're interested in something like that, sign up. And it sounds like a really good, especially if you want to be a volunteer or a guardian. Does anybody else have anything good for the order? Andy?
I received an anonymous phone call from Raymond 3G Nagel, and he said that the flag at the monument memorial, Greening Memorial, must have got torn up during the wind.
Yeah, last 4 days.
I don't know why he didn't call you. Call me, tell me.
Okay. Thanks. Bob.
Everybody knows the two drivers, the Naval Information Operations Plan, along with on June 4th, which is the celebration of the Battle of Midway, they would like to have as many World War II veterans there as possible. They will pick them up. They just need to know where, as far as picking them up. You can get those names, that person and their location to me by the 19th of this month, so I can send it to the command, and then they will arrange for the pickup. But they would love to see as many as possible.
Okay, so if you know anybody, let Todd know. Bill.
I just want to tell you a very quick story. I was at the Denver Brass concert couple, 3 weeks ago. And during intermission, I would stand up and kind of stretch a little bit. And I looked around behind me and there was a fellow sitting there with an AOPA hat, which is a Pilots Association hat on. I'm a pilot, so I got talking with him and found out that he was a World War II veteran and flew P-38 fighters in South Pacific in World War II. He looked like he was probably about 75 years old, but he actually was 100.
Wow.
And he still has his own airplane. He flies it. He said, I'm going to solo once more when I hit 101, and then I'm going to give it up. But the guy really looked, I know there's a few veterans around, but this guy just didn't look like you'd expect a 100-year-old guy to look like.
Do you remember his name?
Really don't. I didn't get his name or where he lived or anything. He just happened to be sitting behind me, and we got into conversation. But I can't tell you anything more about it than that.
Ray, you had something?
Oh, the guy, tactic guy.
Okay, yeah. Did you know if they ever contacted the name I gave you? Tom, Larry? Remember I sent you the name of the guy up in Boulder? Deer in the headlights. Yeah, I sent you an email and you sent back said things. Okay, I'll look it up and resend it. Okay, anybody else? Good to the order. Let's do the 50-50.
Nine five one 584.
584. The last meeting. Oh, with Marcia or Roberts? Darn. Thought maybe we win something. Okay, let us now leave this quiet and tranquil life that we know in the deep and return to reality of the surface world. Surface, surface, surface. Okay, Myra.
Okay, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the meeting that we had tonight, for all the things that we got accomplished. We thank you for our speaker and his willingness to come and share with us, and for the people who provided the cake and the goodies. And we just ask you to take us home safely, have us have a good month, and bring us together next week. We lift up our young men and women that are in the military fighting for our freedoms. We ask you to give them successful missions and bring them home safely, for our elected officials' wisdom as they govern this country to keep it free. We discussed all of these things now, and may God bless everybody here tonight, and may God bless the United States of America. Amen.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. How about a second? We got several seconds. We're done with.